super fun, insightful, educational, inspiring podcast coming your way.
So many words. One of our favorite people, Melissa,
It's true.
who heads up a PR agency that we have personally worked with, but also really admire, came on to talk all things how PR is changing, what still works, what doesn't work, how it works in the face of AI, how all the things. We talk about trust, we talk about relationships, we talk about generosity. What else do we talk about?
Yeah, we talk about leaning into abundance. We talk about how to be human. We talk about solving for the PR conundrums.
Well, not just PR, but we solve all the can programming, really, not just PR.
Yeah, I mean it's here. So listen, let us know what you think. We clearly need to workshop the last section, so listen, and then in the comments, like, give us some naming for potentially quick fire moments, questions that you might want to know. And let us know what you think. And if you liked it, share it with somebody. Give the algorithm a little love.
Yeah, enjoy. Hey everyone, it's Chris.
And Kirsten.
Welcome to Good Thinking Weekly, the podcast where we discuss the best of the best in brands, marketing, and culture.
Thousands of people, top execs from the likes of Complex, Klaviyo, Walmart, Wall Street Journal, and LVMH tune in every single week.
We run a creative consultancy in Good Co, so we know what it takes to build a good brand.
Subscribe on YouTube, your favorite podcast app, and Good Thinking on Substack for more.
All right, let's dive in.
Welcome to what is for sure going to be a very fun episode of Good Thinking.
This episode has been in the making for maybe a year of us being like, we should have Melissa on. We should have Melissa on. And now we're here and it's happening and I cannot wait.
On.
Here we are.
I'm so excited to be here. You guys know I'm your biggest fan. Literally leading the In Good Thinking
mutual
fan club for both the pod and the Substack. It's not a secret.
I love it. Will you give a little background?
Yeah. Of who I am.
Yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Melissa Rosenfield. I'm the founder of IFP Communications. I'm also the world's first director of Vibe, which is a whole other thing.
I love this.
We're known as a PR marketing integrated comms agency. We really are known for making brands. We work with heritage brands and make them relevant again. We work with disruptor and new brands and make those challenger brands impossible to ignore. So that's kind of the gist of us. We're based in New York City. I'm talking to you guys from our office at the South Street Seaport. And yeah, we work with lots of fun brands. We believe in telling great stories, finding the right communities for those stories, and making brands undeniable.
I love that.
Boom.
But also she's a badass. We've worked with her. We know her. We love her.
The feeling is
you're in good hands.
Yeah, I mean, every time we run into you at wherever we are in the world, right? Cannes, South by, anything like that, we're always we always don't get enough Melissa time. We're always instantly in line. You're present, the energy, the excitement. There's always something brand wise that we're talking about and connecting about. Wouldn't, this is happening. And then we're always oh, fuck, we didn't have enough Melissa time.
The feeling is so mutual because I love the work you guys do. When we first met 4 or 5 years ago at this point, I was so impressed with you guys and just everything you were doing. And I'm a big believer in surrounding yourself with people who are doing cool shit, but doing it even better than you. And that's the way I look at you guys. I always think you guys are just, heads and shoulders above so many other people in this business that it's fun and exciting when we get together and talk about stuff. Even when I saw you in New York, was that last week, 2 weeks ago?
Who knows?
It was just so fun. We just had a little meetup, a little catch up. And it was great.
Kirsten, I always want to hang out with PR people because they really talk us up. And I think it's so nice. But every time I meet the PR person, they're so lovely about you. And I'm this is great. I should just surround myself with these people.
These are the affirmations that we need. Yeah, but talking about that, and I think we've always felt this about you, you do PR differently. And I don't quite have the words. I think PR has gone through this really interesting, complete transformation, right, in the past, I don't know, 5 years, probably 10 years.
And even
last 8 months. You always approach it differently. Yeah, truly. I'm sure. But you always approach it differently than my experience of meeting other more maybe typical kind of PR, but your background is like PR through and through. But like, what is it? Because I don't know if that I can articulate, but what is that? Like to me, part of it almost leans brand as well as PR. Like I don't know if it's that you have more of the full story, but what is that?
I mean,
She's a good human. There. Period.
well,
Yes,
thanks for
she is.
having me, guys. It was great. No, I mean, I think, so for me, my career hasn't been linear, and I'm like a big proponent of not having linear careers. And I know you guys understand that too.
Yes.
Even when I was a kid, like I was the precocious kid who has at 12 and a half called every designer in New York City because I wanted to work in fashion. And I was like sitting on the counter in my kitchen in Brooklyn Heights with the phone book, going through every single and matching it up to the Fashion Week schedule. And so like for me, it's always been about finding these brands that I get really excited about and working with them and not just looking at them as like a product or a brand. Like everybody kind of, it's a silo, like you're an umbrella company. That's what you do. But like, there's just so much more to that when we think about how these things are in our lives. And so I kind of take that approach with everything. I definitely think it helps that like, if you look at my nonlinear career, I was like the special events counselor at sleepaway camp. So it was about making experiences and adventures instead of just teaching swim. And then, I like had the dream job out of college working for Dolce & Gabbana and left and took a real estate job that I was like, I don't know, it's going to move me to LA. Maybe this is a great idea. Maybe this is a terrible one. So I also say like everything I always do is calculated risk. And I think that's why it also really works in PR because I believe in like, you got to test it out and you got to let it sit for a minute. I think so often in PR specifically, and I know you guys see it as well, as it's like, we're going to do this big idea and then we do the big idea and then it doesn't click immediately. And that's okay. And people forget and they like freak out and they're like, well, we have to change our complete direction. And it's like, you launched it 7 minutes ago. Let's give it 10. Let's just give it 10 to see if it works. So I think it's just kind of about like looking at everything really holistically and then taking some calculated risks along the way. Obviously nothing reckless, but like just being like, let's just see what happens because it could end up amazing.
I mean, not no to reckless, maybe, but like not
Yes,
only
not,
reckless.
it's not a no. It's not a no.
It's never a no to reckless. Tell me what you meant by in the last 8 months it's changed. What's changing?
So I think that like there's a couple of different angles that I'm looking at this. Sorry about that I'm looking at this from, if we're reading what's happening in the news in terms of like career overall and like industry overall, and we look at tariffs even last year with product, like I think there's been a lot of chaos and scare across the board. Just a little.
Smidge.
Right. It's tiny. But then if you actually like are on the ground talking to people, looking at things are not moving as quickly, right? Like we forget that we're more like a cruise ship than a speedboat and everything. And so people think these changes are going to come so quickly. They just take a little bit of time. The way PR has changed so dramatically is we're obviously seeing like a lot of contracting in the industry in terms of the traditional media outlets and the number of people they have on staff and everything else. But what people weren't paying attention to as that was happening is all of the really bright, talented, creative writers who were saying, wait, I can now do this on my own and have a completely new revenue stream and outlet. And I don't need to have a masthead behind me to create really valuable content for both myself and for brands. And so I think, again, this is like the speedboat versus the cruise ship. Like, while everybody was over here freaking out about magazines closing, they didn't realize that all these really amazing people were quickly moving and they're just coming around to like, oh, did you know Substack is important? I know you guys know how important Substack is, but like,
We do.
it's kind of like the early days of, let's call it Instagram and social media right now as it pertains to earned media. So there's a lot of opportunity, but it's about really looking for those opportunities. You can't be as passive as you were a year ago, where it was just like send a pitch to 500 people and hope somebody writes about it. Now you really do. And it's definitely filtering out like the people who are creative, the people who are tenacious, the people who are thinking about it differently and how they're telling stories versus everybody else. And the people who are going to win in it are the people who are doing that, the creative box.
Let's talk about not sending the most generic pitch to 500 people. As a person that receives close to 600 to 700 pitches a week, like I cannot tell you like how quickly I shut down. Like,
but how would you feel if there was a $25 Starbucks gift card attached to it? Because that's my other favorite right now.
I mean, might be.
I mean, I use it, but I wouldn't use that. I use Starbucks, but
I do love Starbucks.
It's funny though.
Shout out to Starbucks.
Right. I say that to say that, like, it's really funny because, 8, 9 months ago, you could be like, hey, listen, not necessarily to 500 people, but you'd send it out to a couple of people and be like, hey, I know I can't get you for breakfast, but can I buy you coffee to get you on a call? And even now, just because stuff is moving so quickly, like those tactics don't work as well as they did, which is really interesting because people are getting 500 generic pitches a day,
Right.
which is cruel
So
and unusual, if I'm being
yeah,
honest.
I mean, well, and one thing I've learned is so I just start replying and saying, I won't respond to this type of pitch. Like, if you want to pitch me, this is
That's
how you
fair.
pitch me and nothing else. And if you send me anything else, you'll go straight to spam and I'll just block your email and like done, you're done. Like you're dead
Frugal.
to me.
She's serious.
Because I have to protect the
1,000%.
inbox. Like I can't do it any other way. But and some people like Casey Lewis, like she doesn't take any pitches. Like
Oh.
I've been told
Yeah.
by many PR people, like she won't even take the pitches.
There's
And
also Andrea who does snack shots. Same thing. If you pitch her, she's literally like immediately moved to because she wants to discover products though.
so I did send a founder to pitch her, and that did work. But it was a friend, and I was like, you should just pitch this person, and it totally worked, like
But that's
exactly
the
as
thing is
should be.
they want to
For
discover it. I think that piece is amazing that people actually, and I'm so sorry, my phone was on silent, but apparently was not. Now it is.
all good.
You're busy. You're wanted. This is what happens.
Those writers, though, I think what's interesting about it is like they want to do the discovery. That's exciting to me that we're in a world now where writers are not being forced to write about what they're told. Like, again, that's the big shift, right? They don't have to write about the 9 best umbrellas for rain. They don't. They can, and they still will, and they'll get paid for it. But now they can go out and discover the brand that's doing something really fun because it feels like a fashion accessory, or it feels different, or it has some technology that they're excited about. Like that piece to me is the most exciting.
Totally.
Yeah.
But I want to dial in. Like, we don't talk a lot about PR for, I mean, I guess for us, obvious reasons. Like the real like meaty PR of what it actually is important, and that's why we have you. But I want to talk about, because I think people can really use this information, right? So it's like, people want to discover it, but I think there's also a way from a PR standpoint or just from a human standpoint that you can share that information when
Totally.
you know that you have something that is discoverable, that is new, that is really something that's special. Like, fuck, everybody wants to hear that. And then I think there's the level that it's like, just be a fucking human.
Totally.
And like reach out to like, hey, Chris, I read, I dig your whatever it is.
Yeah, and it's just a copy and pasted, and like you can see that it's like from a spreadsheet, and they've just, I mean, it makes me
No.
like,
You guys are big design people, but like my number one pet peeve is if I get an email or I see it go out from my team and the formatting is off and it's like 2 fonts or 2. Oh no. And that's
I mean,
like-
it's 101 shit, but apparently
But-
101 is not available to
But let's
everybody.
break down the 101. Like, what are the like, real.
So I think there's a
Easy
couple
basics.
things. One, I agree with you. It's be a good human first and foremost. And I think we're all on that same page. Like there is a reason why you follow these people on Instagram. There's a reason you read what they write, right? So you can relate to them so we can connect on a human level. And I think the second you take that out of this equation, relationships have always been so important to PR and comms. The second you take that out of the equation, like you're already doing yourself a disservice. It takes 30 seconds to go on someone's Instagram and be like, I just saw you got back from Porto. I was there a few years ago. Did you do this thing, right? Or like, oh, I just saw that your sister had a baby. How exciting. Welcome to the world of being an aunt. Like those 12 words are more meaningful than hope you had a great weekend.
So true.
Now, there are times and places when it's more of a volume play, and that's very real, and you are going to send a more blanket email when it's something like breaking news or something you can jump on. I remember years ago, we were working with a podcast. It was a political podcast, and as stuff was coming, am I allowed to be a little, well, with you two, of course I can. It was when everything was going
Do
on
you
with
need to
Roe
ask?
versus
Here.
Wade,
What are the rules?
right? Exactly. With Roe v. Wade getting overturned. And literally, as I was watching it in real time, I was writing the pitch in real time and sending it out in mass to people. And the number of people, because we were able to grab it so quickly and not just grab it, but like had something we could offer them. Oh my God, sorry, I keep kicking everything. Offer them, like it was amazing. It was great. And you guys know, like we've done this with stuff in the style of work when people were going back into offices and you guys did pieces about like the culture of work. Like those opportunities are different and those are not every opportunity. that is specific to a moment in time. But if you're just on a regular Tuesday sending 500 people the same form email, like you're not doing your job, it's lazy. And I think there's just a level of humanity that like across all work we need to like continue to engage with. We don't get to engage with people the way we did 6 years ago, 7 years ago, pre-quarantines and everything else. And so like now that we're 6 years out of that, we should be spending more time trying to connect with people on a human level. Like we don't have an excuse not to. So
Right.
that's kind of the first piece. The second piece is I think that for a lot of, it's all about positioning. I was having dinner with a friend last night and she's like, tell me about the product. They need better positioning. And I'm like, yes, everything needs positioning, but we've almost gotten like to max positioning where we've like over positioned, we've over optimized, we've like made it so much about that thing that it doesn't fit into anything else because it's only about that thing. And when I go back to talking about discovery, when you're looking at, let's say, a hair tie, like, why is this hair tie great? Why is it different? Why do I want to use it over something else? Like, there's a million ways to tell that story that are way more meaningful than like, I have optimized this pitch and this positioning so that it will do this, this, and this in your SEO. Like, the people reading the pitches, yes, there are writers who still need to optimize for SEO and AEO and GEO, but like, how about like give them a little bit of like leading them to water and letting them drink as opposed to just like driving it down their throats and hoping that they write it word for word. And then, and like a good real-time example of that is the brand behind Erling Haaland. Like they moved, he invested in the hair ties. He had probably one of the best World Cups of any of the international players coming to the US. And like those hair ties got so much coverage. The brand's been around for like 40 years. They got so much coverage because they didn't over optimize on why it's a great hair tie. They were like, Erling Haaland loves this hair tie. It keeps his hair back in a neat bun. He likes all the colors. And we've been around for 40 years. And this is our technology that we built. Like pretty simple. So,
Right.
Okay, that's fascinating. That's
there's
fascinating.
that
So
piece.
because they really dug into the attributes that were already there in the brand, the positioning that was already there, but then
Yeah,
what
and they
made it
didn't over
relevant from
optimize
him.
any of it. That's the thing is like oh my God, I don't know why everything's going off now. It's been quiet all day.
Do you have a bird in your
I mean,
computer?
this is PR, baby. Like
I
this is how it
know.
goes.
Yeah,
I know.
you're
It's
in
actually so
demand, girl.
But that's the thing, like they didn't make it overly complicated. Like I sometimes think, and this is really your expertise more than mine, but I sometimes feel like when brands come to me, oh my God, I'm so sorry, guys. I sometimes feel like when brands come to me with like positioning that is so holy. Yeah.
We gotta teach you
One
how to
second.
turn
get out
on
of
Do Not
Slack.
Disturb.
Gotta get out of Slack.
Yeah,
Gotta
I'm doing it right now. Hold on. I thought it was on, but it was on for my personal and not for
Go
my.
to the little moon sign.
Yep. I'm there. Don't worry. Hold on. Oh God. I'm so
I
embarrassed.
just enjoy that it's not me. It's just not me.
Well, the funniest
like-
part is like you guys know who this person is, so that's why it's even funnier.
And should we join?
User burning.
Should we get them on?
Yeah, should we all get on the Slack?
Yeah, I mean, you could jump into the conversation for sure.
My.
I'm sure that it would be great feedback. Okay, now we're good. But I think we get so like laser focused on the positioning and not straying from it and not having anything outside of this very narrow view of what a product should be. And that's when you don't get coverage because somebody who's reading it can't be abstract once you've told them every single specific thing that they're supposed to think, write, and do. The reason why the hair ties worked is because like we all generally know what a hair tie does. We all don't take them very seriously. We all like colors. It's cool to know they're an old brand and it's cool to know that they have this technology, but like it didn't need to be more than that. And I think that's why it worked so well. Because it was just like, let people do with this what they want. They love him. This is his thing that he loves. Like, run with it. Have fun.
Right.
And it worked. And it worked really well.
Well, I think
40 is not old.
For a hair tie out of Asia.
Yeah. Wait, do we need to have this conversation?
He's like 20. No, I didn't say 40 was old. The brand is 40 years old. Listen, in this day and age, if a brand makes it to 10, we're lucky.
10 months.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, but I think what you're talking about is something we talk a lot about brand is like where it is now is like, yes, like understand your brand, know your brand, but you need to kind of give it over to the people to do what they want with it. And it feels like PR, when done right, is finally kind of catching up to that.
1,000%. Because
Yeah.
again, when we over optimize for these things, like we don't let people be creative. And if anything, now we should let people run with these things because like we need these outlets that are just an opportunity to have fun with something, you know, whether it's a hair tie or an umbrella. Like again, an umbrella could be just an umbrella or it could be a fashion accessory and something that becomes part of your look, which 100 years ago it was. And like telling people all of the great attributes of why this has to be in this narrow little box versus being like, here's a couple great points about it, go figure it out. Giving them the opportunity to figure it out yields better results these days.
Yes.
There are still lazy people who cut and paste. That's going to be everywhere. But
Yeah.
meaning,
I mean, 1,000% in the positioning meeting, they weren't like, it's for men or boys
Yeah.
who have long hair and
Yeah.
look like, you know, Vikings.
Yeah.
And like, this is our
No, it
segment.
didn't happen.
And
Exactly.
this conversation never happened. And yeah, I think that generally, like, you're right. Like, I think one of the things we talk about all the time is like brands don't really have fun and they need to have more fun. And it makes, if you just loosen the reins a little bit, you have a lot more to play with.
I think that's completely spot on. And I know you guys do that because in the work that you do, you can see you're having fun. And I think that like now more than ever, when we see brands having fun, we want to be part of that. Like the world is hard. Life is challenging. Like that brand's doing something fun and silly. Let me get on board with it. You know?
Right.
I think
But it
that's,
doesn't have to be slapstick. Like, I feel like that was another tactic that everyone was like, oh, now we're heritage band or a new brand that's like really funny, you know, like we're gonna be like, you know, the dude wipes of like, you know,
exactly. We're going to be the
XXX, like
X of
whatever.
It's like the old days when you would hear like how to pitch a TV show or a movie. You'd be like, it's this mixed with this, but this is the star. And it's like,
100% we've pitched our show like that though.
I mean, everybody.
That's exactly how we
Okay,
pitched
well,
it.
noted. We'll update the pitch.
But
We'll
I
talk
think,
after.
no, I think it's okay. I think it's okay. But I think that there was such a period where it was just like, there wasn't an original idea. I
It's
refuse
like
to
the
believe.
Uber of this, the Netflix of this.
Yeah.
The,
And I
you
refuse
know.
to believe that you guys going in and being like, we're the Uber of Netflix didn't work because you guys are more than that. Let's be honest. But
It's true.
But like, that's the thing. I think people want to have a little bit of like loosening the reins is the perfect way to explain
Yeah.
it. Like,
Yeah.
just let us figure it out. Don't dumb everything down. Don't make everything so.
Yes. Let's talk about speed because I think that like right now we're like in the age of AI or whatever we want to call it. Like everybody's like, we're moving so fast. And then this week I was reading this like the survey that was like, oh, well, like, you know, 70% or 64%, something like that, of AI results come from brand, right? And like
Yep.
only a small fraction come from influencers and other sources, right? And I think that people don't really appreciate that in this age of speed, actually, a lot of things that you have to do are kind of slow.
Yep.
And PR is kind of one of those things. Like, I think to build a really good PR foundation, and this is something that we learned when we were working with you, is like, it's like it takes time, but that's not how people's brains are. Like, everyone's like, well, I gotta have Claude like send 50,000 emails today.
I mean, now that my Claude can write my emails and put them in my outbox is, I will admit that's one of my favorite features of cowork because I'll do all the dictating and whatever. You know, with nails, sometimes typing is annoying. But
I love a voice to text.
Yeah.
Love it.
Sometimes
especially mine
typing is
are
just
not
annoying.
insane. Mine are insane. Everybody's like, I think your voice to text doesn't know what language you speak. No, but that is a really good point that you bring up. We get so many people who are like, I was burned by PR, so I only want to do a 3-month engagement. And my response is always like, that is so great. It is a huge waste of your money, so let's not do that. I still am a firm believer that telling good stories takes time because it's not just about getting the information out there. It's getting enough of that information so that people start to recognize it. You have to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it again. And, you know, with PR campaigns that are 90 days, like you can do a store opening in 90 days and it's fine, but that's not building your lasting brand story for 25 years. When we were at Cannes, I had a conversation with the CMO of a very fancy watch brand. And I was asking her like what their PR strategy looks like. Like, who's their agency? Are they looking for a new one? We're available. And she was like, we don't, shameless. And she was like, our overarching like KPI and strategy is that we're still here in 150 years. You never hear that from brands ever, especially now in the world of like, and it's again changed a lot even last 8 months, but like if we go back 2 or 3 years when money was free and everybody was raising and it was just like getting the brands out, doing the D2C thing, it was like, we just need this out. But like, look at how many of those D2C brands that we knew so well just a few years ago who don't exist anymore. Or like have gone kind of like into the, I don't know, they're like in a graveyard somewhere where like random people can still buy their product.
Our company.
There's so many. And it's because they didn't take the time to build the story and the evangelism, which is like, I always talk about evangelism and people are like, it sounds religious. And I'm like, great. Then we all go to that church, the church of this product, and love it and get it and want to tell people about it. But like, if your brand had a really great pop at month 1, 2, and 3, and then everything else fell off, like you're not giving your brand a life. You're giving it like a little runway to do the thing to make the money. It's not going to last. It just won't. Look at brands at like Saks Fifth Avenue. Perfect example. That brand keeps getting paddles every 6 months, but there's still enough brand equity that people still shop there. They still want to see it win because it's been around for so many years, because they took so many years to build this story. So to like pull that all back and make it go away is going to take a lot longer than like, I can't even think of a D2C. I mean, I can think of a lot of D2C brands that don't exist anymore, but like, any of those that were so big and raised all this money and everything else that don't exist, because it was literally about acquisition and one sale to all these new customers. And there was nothing about retention, and PR builds your retention. That's the thing that people don't realize. PR continues to tell the story and the use case and everything else for your product to build your retention and keep your retention. And when you stop doing that, that's when we see brands that we stop working with who stop doing PR and they fall off. And it's clockwork. Months, after we finish with them, months 1 through 3, they're still getting residual press. Maybe if we timed it, there will be stuff coming out 6 months from now from holiday that we pitched earlier. It's coming back from the year before. But by months 4, 5, and 6 on most of them, they just don't exist on the internet anymore. They're not being pulled into articles. And anything that is still happening is residual from work that we had done building the story for a year, 2 years, 3 years. So I think a lot of people don't realize that like the storytelling isn't short, it isn't fast, and it's building your customer for the long game. That was a long answer, but I hope it makes sense.
No, I mean, you listen to the pod, so you know we might speak the same language. Your voice to text might not understand you, but I understand.
Yeah, I think that people look at it and they think like, we'll just do this short little sprint and it'll be fine. And again, a store opening, that works, right? Month 1, you're getting everybody excited the store is opening. Month 2, the store opens. Month 3, you close out all of those relationships for the most part. But you did it. 3 months, it works. But if you're a brand, if you're a heritage brand, a legacy brand, or if you're a brand that's a challenger brand that really wants to like be a challenger brand, you need to invest in it for the long run. You need to find the right partner and invest in it, because your story will change and you will change and evolve. And if that's not being made clear to the consumer, then you fall off. Yes. There's so much noise.
Can we talk about, you wrote something recently, pretty sure. I follow you a lot. I'm not confusing you.
Same Z.
You wrote something a lot recently about like how like people that like brands on LinkedIn, it's like nobody follows a brand on LinkedIn. And there's like, I could name like 3 that I follow. Maybe that would be generous. And everybody follows the founder, yes, obviously, but now also the president and the VP and the graphic designer who works there. Like everybody is following the entire company and not really following the company. Yeah. How are you dealing with that? How are you coaching people through that? Are you coaching people through that?
Yes.
Talk about public perception from a company-wide perspective.
So I think first and foremost, we have to all understand that not everybody, just because it's their job title, is meant for that public-facing role. And there are certain, and I think we just need to all agree here that like, you just know when they are or they aren't. And if they're not, like, it's okay. Don't make them do it. It's almost worse. So that's part one. Not every person at your company needs to be the face of your company. I also think like we've seen a big movement as a sidebar of like everybody getting like their intern and assistant to be the face of their brand on social media. And though I think it's cute, at this point, it feels really gimmicky to me. But where we're seeing opportunity, and we are coaching certain people on that, is like there are some very, very smart people running these companies who have been behind the scenes for so long. And they have something really valuable to share with the market. And so building them and positioning them and putting them in the right places to share it with the market, whether it's consumer facing or B2B, or just making them like talking heads on LinkedIn, like there's a ton of opportunity there now because people want to invest in brands that they feel some sort of connection to. That's the human part, right? And it's like you look at certain founders, I think like the OG in this is Richard Branson. You look at Richard Branson, and like I would even say Phil Knight too for a certain point, but like Richard Branson, like I don't know anyone who came up before me, during me, and I don't think a lot of kids now know who he is. But like there was a time when he was unavoidable because he was everywhere, but he was either giving you his POV on category he was in, or the POV on the market, or the POV on his lifestyle, which was just cool. And so he built out this 360 founder executive that like I think everybody should be looking towards if that's what they want to build, because it wasn't just one thing, it was everything. He was multifaceted. He could talk about music the same way he could talk about airplanes, the same way he could talk about going on vacation, the same way he could talk about like basic
His
business
wife.
strategies for hired his wife and basic business strategies for hiring. Like he was a real person with real dimension. And I think that's the big opportunity for executive thought leadership right now.
The question.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. My question is, because I hear this all the time from brands that we work with and people that we've actually we've been invited to speaking events, book us. I'll pull a Melissa. And then they were like, some people have like said, hey, guess what? Like, we actually don't want you to talk about personal brand. Like, please don't talk about it as a legal issue for us. And then other people are like, hey, but like, so it's one thing with Richard because it's his company, right? He founded all of, he's like, I want to make a Coca-Cola company. Let me do that.
I mean, everything.
Like praise him. He is so loony and I love him so much.
Yes.
But
Amen.
But when it's not their company, like, are you getting pushback from brands who are like, yeah, but like then they're just building their personal brand, their story for their next career? And like, how do you kind of like wrap your arms around that kind of beast of things?
So it's two things, right? Like I think there's really, I don't think everybody is fit for this. And I don't think everybody should be doing this. And I don't think every company needs that. And I think we all need to agree to that because when you're forcing a boulder up a hill by yourself, like it's pointless. And it doesn't do anything. But there are some great executives who have, I think of like, we worked with nuts.com for a long time. And PJ, who is the CEO and president, who had been there as the president, and then the family that owned the business took the CEO who was part of the family, stepped down and took a board position and moved PJ into that. And PJ had come from Fresh Direct and she had built Slice for them, which was the pizza. Like she was so smart and so interesting and she's so talented. And I always tell her I have such a girl crush on her. But like PJ was also charismatic and smart. And like it wasn't necessarily about her building a personal brand for the next job. It was she had built all of these great case studies for why she was perfect for this job in this new chapter of this company. So elevating her made total sense. It made complete sense because even if she took all that and went somewhere else, like it still elevated the brand with her because it showed that they understood who they were hiring for and they understood what the future of their brand looked like. It didn't need to be hinged on her being there or not. It was building those two things side by side. We're coming into this new era of our company. It's not going to be run just by the family anymore. It's going to be run by this person who has built an amazing career doing all these wonderful things. And that's why she's the right person for this job. And this is how we're going to grow together. And so that's one side of it. There's definitely times when you see people who jump around from business to business to business. And it's absolutely them just kind of leveling up. And I think at a certain point, that's truly a race to the bottom, not the top, because you're not there long enough to do anything impactful. You're not there long enough to prove any meaning. So if you're just like jumping, year one, you're here, year two, you're there, year three, and there are those executives. And when you dig in, you start to see them. You kind of have to think like, why can't they stay anywhere? But when you see people who build real impact, I don't think it's a threat to the overall brand because you're hiring them for a reason. You brought them in for a reason. So like, if anything, elevate together.
Right. I think that's really interesting. And thinking about, when bringing on a CEO, CMO, like that needs to be a part of the personality. It needs to be a part of the human. And then taking it specifically to fixing can. Okay. No small feat, but let's do this in this conversation.
I love
like what,
fixing things in 2
99% of
minutes.
the majority of the content at Cannes, I'm talking about what was on stage, and there were exceptions for sure,
And I think you
and
need
I
to
know you're
clarify.
buddies with, but it
No,
was so fucking
it was a circle jerk.
PR approved of like, how do you balance out with a client to say like, yes, here's the background of the company and do all the things, but also do your own thing so that people actually want to listen and are learning something versus just reading off of the press release.
Yeah,
Because
so I
nobody
do
wants
feel like
that.
some of it was a circle jerk. I listened to this one guy at 2 panels, unfortunately. One was a small breakfast and one was another kind of bigger event, and it was the same shtick. Now, there's something to be said for knowing your talking points and hitting them. There's also something to be said for just repeating yourself and only having like one note to just keep going on. I think with Cannes, what was interesting was like all of those not Cannes events, right? Like not the Festival of Creativity, but every tent on the beach and every private breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever, those panels. I think there were some really great people who had some really strong points. And then I think there were a lot of people whose agencies just got them up there so they could be part of it to say they did it. And like, I didn't walk away feeling like I learned anything. If anything, I felt like they regurgitated what they read in Ad Age that morning or what they, like it wasn't storytelling. It was just like, I pulled this off of somebody else's LinkedIn post. So how do we fix that? I
Yes,
had a
please.
conversation with a client today about this. I don't think everything needs to be a panel, and I don't think everybody needs to be on a panel. And
Amen. 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 Yeah. Let's
for
take a minute to.
many years, I had like one of the most successful panel series at Soho House nationally. It was in all the cities. I would just travel around and interview founders. And this was a long time ago. It's 10 years ago. And we like kind of hit max panel. And like now it's anybody who can pay the sponsorship fee can be on the panel and you can smell it. And it's not particularly good. What I would love to see from Cannes, the part that you guys know, which is why I went, was like, I wanted to be around the smartest, most creative, interesting people and see the smartest, most creative work. That's really what I went believing that it is. And I do think that's still there. But that doesn't mean the CEO from every company that can afford a 6-figure sponsorship should be up there talking. Give me somebody else from that team who's actually in the weeds doing the work. Give me the person who did that cool social media campaign that got you guys all these impressions and new customers, or give me that brand team that came up with your positioning that set you apart from everybody else in your category. Like, that's who I want to hear from. I don't need to hear from the CEO, CMO of every single company all the time. And I know you guys have a lot of CMOs who listen to this podcast and CEOs and senior executives. And I think that like a lot of them have great stories to tell, but I think there's also other people on your team who can tell great stories that you can elevate that literally like raises the whole entity. It raises the whole ship. And so if I was going in and fixing some of the programming at Cannes, which they're welcome to hire me to help any of those.
She's available.
I'm available. We would love to. I think that there's a lot of untapped opportunity in talking to people who are like doing very cool shit at different levels within an organization that we probably don't elevate as much.
Yeah. I mean,
great
100%.
point.
Like, we have the privilege of chit-chatting with many CMOs, which is like a funny like place to be because a lot of CMOs do know each other, but then there's a lot of people who kind of come into this role, and when they're new CMOs, they don't actually have the network of CMOs. So once you get to a certain level, it seems like there's like a whole
Definitely
like
like an inside
slew
baseball
of like they're all on WhatsApp with one another. But for the people that aren't, and I think that one of the things that's super interesting that I hear all the time is that other CMOs want to know how other CMOs get shit done. Like, that's all they want to know. They're like,
And that's
how
like a
did you
union
get this proved? How did you
Yeah.
make this happen in your organization? Meanwhile, we're spending all of our time being like, well, when we worked with this creator, we like created this kind of like engagement and da-da-da-da-da, and the lift was, and you're like, guys, like, first of all, you were never involved in that campaign. Like, you didn't touch it, you didn't see it, you don't know what the engagement was, you've never seen it. So let's not talk about that. But like, also, like, I just don't feel like CMOs are they're not holding themselves to the higher regard that that they should be holding themselves to. Like, it's like, how did you make this brand, like, take this brand and transform it forward? Like, that's what the other CMOs who are mostly there are desperate to know, like, so desperate.
I think you're spot on. And it's interesting because when you say like they're all in a WhatsApp group together, I feel that way about female founders. I feel that way about Substackers. Like, I'm reading a bunch of people's newsletters this week, as I'm sure you are. And I know you were at Substack for a bunch of their events. And it's literally all the same 5 people just mentioning each other. And it's
Yes.
just like this little, and it doesn't feel good when you're trying to break into that. So if I was a new CMO at Cannes and everybody's in this private dinner, this private club, and I'm kind of sitting there on the outside going like, I'm new here. It doesn't feel super welcoming. But I used to feel that way with a lot of the female founders who I worked with, who I was friends with, who would exclude me from dinners because I didn't have a product. Even though I founded an agency and founded a company and had employees and did all these things, like I didn't have a physical product. So therefore I wasn't invited to those dinners. Even though anywhere else they would say, you're amazing, you're great, we want to call you for your opinion. And I think a lot of CMOs who are starting out probably feel that way too about Cannes. I think there's got to be, I don't know. I don't know the answer, the fix. I think it's just spot on that there's this little like clickiness across the universe that like is a human thing also that's kind of unavoidable. And I don't know how you fix it, to be candid. But
By being
agree.
nice and talking to people
Yes.
and
Yeah, I
allowing
think it gets
people
you
in
hard.
and inviting and making seats at tables that you don't have
Yes.
to make because you believe that making seats at tables is a good exercise. And I think like, like I think we spend
I
a
think
lot
you're
of time
right.
trying to make some seats at tables, like
Well,
that we don't need to, like no one's paying us to make them seats. Like
correct. But that was something we talked about the other week when I saw you in New York was that this like, I think Shelley Zales, female quotient,
Yep.
is the queen of the seat at the table.
yes. Yeah.
And we need more Shelleys and less private chat groups. It's not to say that they can't still also have a private chat group.
Yes and like
Correct.
the whole thing. Invite someone into your weird private chat. Like
Totally. I mean, look at Sunday dinner. I always say this. I'll give Lindsay a shout out because I do it and she gets so annoyed because she's like, stop. But Lindsay's
She
like
does
the
a great
queen.
job creating community.
Great job at that. Even at breakfast the other week with Ben, it was like bringing people together. It's like such an easy opportunity. So we do need less panels and we need more of those. You guys created that room at Cannes. You had that dinner. We need more of those rooms. I think it would be so valuable. And if I was a new CMO, which like hasn't been my path up to this point, but who knows what the future holds, I would hope that somebody that I knew or met along the way would say, listen, like, here's like the kind of inside track that I was on. These are the people that I met. Let me make a few intros. I mean, you guys know, like, I'm always happy to make any intro because what do I have to lose? Like, it's only better to kind of make everybody know each other and hope that we all behave. But I
Yes.
think that for me would be the thing is like maybe less of those panels at those big things or opening more of those conversations to make them feel more intimate. I don't know. I'm gonna have to really think about that one.
no, but I think you're bringing up something that I've seen a lot of. Like, so Grant, I have a lot of people in my inbox. Kirsten has a lot of people in her inbox, but I also have a lot of people who are like, "Hey, like, let me introduce you to this person without me asking." Like, it's
Right, totally.
constant, like absolutely constant. And sometimes I know that they're doing it because it's like, "Hey, like I'm on the board and like I want to introduce you to these people." But most of the time, it's total generosity. And
Yeah.
I will tell you that those relationships that these people build pay them tenfold. Like I'm there like being like, "Hey, you should go talk to this person. Like let me like introduce you to this journalist." Like I'll pop their name into like cuz journalists or other substackers will reach out to me and say, "Hey, like what do you know about this? Who do you know?" Like like you said,
Totally.
we're
I
all on the
ask you
like
those
little
questions all the time.
shitty chats all the time.
Yeah.
And so it's like, "Hey, yeah, like this brand is cool. This founder is doing something interesting." Like I pop their name and give them props without them even asking or even knowing about it. And I think, but that goes back to, I think, like a PR fundamental is that I think so many people think that PR is such a pay to play, but I think it's so much like when you do it really well, the way that you do it, it's like you make friends with people.
Yeah.
You have relationships. Like we've been friends for years now, right? Like
Yeah.
without any like financial like
Right.
relationship between us, right?
100%.
But it pays off in many ways. And
Right.
I think that founders should know that, CMOs should know that,
Absolutely.
junior employees should know that. Like be generous with your time, network, whatever you have.
My alarms. I
Yeah.
think you're right though. I don't
I
know
think that's
where.
it.
Sorry, Kirsten, you go.
I mean, I think that's it. I think that's like the full circle of starting of where the conversation that we started with. Like, I
Yeah.
think it's really about saying, not necessarily like, where's my seat at the table, but what seat can I create at the table? Because you can create a seat for every single there is a seat that you can create for somebody out there, regardless of
1,000%.
how big, how small, whatever your position is. I promise you that there is a seat that you can create for somebody. And I think that you have always shown up like that. And I think we show up like that. And I think that's
Yeah,
the
totally.
commonality. Like it's always like, oh, can I do this? Can I do this? Oh, I know this cool person. And it's really authentic and true. And it's just, you're excited and passionate about it versus like, if I do this for you, then you're going to do this for me. That's never been a part of it.
No, and I think like the really interesting part of this, which is like the we as humans bigger picture question, is like, when did we start to worry that it was always going to be a competition? Because I've always said, and I've spoken about this forever, is that like the pie is infinite. If I give you a piece, it doesn't mean that I get less or somebody else does. It just means we need a bigger pie because together we can make the bigger pie, right? You may put another piece back in the pie that's something I didn't have access to. Maybe it was raspberry and now we have blueberry. Like, that's the piece where I wonder sometimes like why we got so worried. I don't know if it's coming out of like just what we see in the internet and all those things, but making seats at the table, making sure that people feel seen and heard and like being present with them is such a big part of PR, both on the agency side talking to media and on the product side and dealing with the brand. And I think that the best work comes from those really authentic human moments. I was having dinner with a journalist friend who I've known for longer than I care to admit. And she always brings up, we've been friends for the better half of our lives at this point. And she always brings up how when we were at South by, it was her first time going and she was covering it for I forget who. I was like, don't worry, girl, I got you. And she's like, I don't even know what we did that week. We were eating tacos here. We were meeting people over there. We went to a concert. We were with Janelle Monáe. She's like, you just dragged me everywhere. And I went. And it was like such a great story because it's something I couldn't have created on my own. And you were just so happy to like have a partner in crime for it. And I was like, hell yeah, why not?
It's mutually beneficial. I mean, I bring this up also, like people say this about my newsletter, and it's something that I feel about your newsletter. And if you're not subscribed to Melissa's newsletter, you should be subscribed.
That was really all
Is that
for.
yeah? Is that like people are like, why do you do this newsletter? It seems like a lot of your time for like not a lot of like your benefit, right? And it's like, no. You don't understand. Like the benefit that I get from it, you're like my afterthought. Like once it's on the internet, like it doesn't really matter to me. Like the whole benefit to me like occurs well before, and you're just like you're reaping the benefits, but like my benefits have come way earlier. But it's a mindset thing of like I'm not trying to like claw you in and like take you for every cent and like get every like little mention and like I almost never include any pitches, and like it's like I'll only include a pitch if I like think that it's like, hey, yeah, like this is genuinely something that I would have written about. But like you do the same in your newsletter, like it's extremely generous, and
Thank
I
you.
think just generosity again, like I think that's why you're on this, like it's like, hey, like
Well,
you
I
should
wrote
bring her
that.
on, like
Wrote that story, generosity is a flywheel. People don't get it. And I think there's like some hang up where we have this like worry or that we're just, if we give it away, we're going to lose something. But like, it's actually the opposite. Exactly what you're saying is it's the opposite. The more generous you are with your time, with your, and that's not to say like take every single coffee date when somebody's like, can I pick your brain? Like it still drives me crazy when people are like, can I pick your brain? And it's like, could you actually just give me a full PR strategy? Like, no, that costs money. But there are ways to do that, to be generous with people in that way. Part of why I started writing my Substack was I was literally teaching my team here how to be better publicists and writing. And then it's kind of like what's come from that is, somebody said to me the other day, like, you just give a lot of it away for free. And I'm like, look, if they're coming to my agency, they're coming for me. I'm the IP of IFP Communications, literally. Like, that's why you hire us, because you're getting me. But that's not to say that the tactics and some of the stuff that I can give to other people to get better at their job is going to take anything away from me, because maybe I'm not what you want or need. Maybe they are. But
or maybe they can't afford you, but like one day when they've listened to your good advice, then they can afford you, and then they're going to come right back around and be like, who taught me how to do all the best things now that I no longer have time to do all of my own PR? And then they're in your inbox.
But I say that all the time. Generosity is a flywheel.
I think it's beautifully said. And it's the difference between lack versus abundance. Like it's the lack mentality. Oh, there's not enough. Oh, if I take away, and it's like, where do you want to be? And for sure, like sign me up for abundance. And the more abundant you are, the more you get. Just to be clear, your Substack is fine print. So
In
if
fine
you're
print,
not
that's right.
subscribing, like fucking get on it. All right, I want to move us to rapid fire, but I'm going to change it up a little bit because there's a few things that we haven't talked about.
Quick fire.
I'm not allowed to say that. I'm not allowed to say
Always,
that.
she's not allowed to say rapid fire because it makes me think of guns. Like I'm just not. I'm not a gun person.
It's definitely giving AK-40 something.
Really? So you feel all right? I feel like it just used to be
I
the
get it, I
terminology,
get it,
and
I get it.
we've changed the language. So quick fire.
That also gives like pizza restaurant though, quick fire, if I'm being honest.
I mean,
Okay, clearly
True.
we need a workshopping session on it. We need a workshopping
okay.
session. So
If
in
you
the
have
comments, please let us
suggestions,
know.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're very
Drop your
curious.
comments.
Okay, but I know that you are on a lot of boards. You do a lot of mentoring, and I really want to dig deeper into like what is the advice that you give your team? What is the advice that you'd want to give your younger self? Like, give it to us.
Okay, so if I was giving advice to my younger self, I would say it's what I do. It's literally like take the calculated risk. I live by the Robert Evans quote of everybody loves a comeback. And it was because the night before I moved to Anguilla, when I moved to Anguilla, story for another day, you guys know that one. I looked at my best friend, Johnny, who is a writer and filmmaker in LA. And he and I were sitting in my room and I was like, but what happens if everybody forgets me? And what happens if like this changes everything? And he was just like, everybody loves a comeback. And it's true. And I say this all the time. I should have it tattooed on me.
I mean, let's go.
Right? No, it really is. Like, I believe it. Like, people want to see you win at the end of the day. They do. Even if you don't feel like that in the moment, they do. Like, nobody wants to sit there and see you in your misery, and they want to see you come back. And so you just have to remember that. And sometimes it is pulling yourself up by, like the dregs of everything and just saying, well, the only way through is through. So let's do this. So everybody loves a comeback. That's my advice. With my teams and with like young people, I'm actually going to give you one that I give to every brand. There is a finite amount of time that you as a brand can do your own PR. And that is when you don't hire PR. Okay. Those first like 1 to 3 years, depending on what you're building, is when you should be out there making introductions for yourself, telling your story, being everywhere. Those 3 years are going to get you everything you need for the million years after that, because people want to see you win and they want to meet the founder and they want to be invested in you. So when brands come to me and they're like, we just launched a year ago or whatever, I'm like, how much PR have you done for yourself? We haven't done any. Well, now you have a great opportunity to do your own PR, tell your story, write your pitch, go out to these people. Like, who do you want covering you? Find them and do that, because when you get into a certain point where you're making a lot of money and everything else, like you can't do it anymore. You just don't have time to do it. The story changes. But in that beginning, when your brand is in its infancy, like do it yourself and really invest in it, because that's what's going to set you up for the long game.
I love that.
Amazing. I mean, I
That's
think you nailed
good
it.
advice.
Thank you.
I think you nailed it.
All right.
It was amazing having you.
I'm
Thank
so
you.
happy to be here. I feel like we could have just been on the phone for 3 hours. It's fine.
I mean, obviously.
So many more things to talk about on another day. I hope I
Yes.
wasn't too roundabout, but you guys know me.
No,
That's just
You were great. If you have questions for Melissa, drop them in the comments. If
Yes.
you need PR, you know where to get it. And yes.
And
Sign
thank
up
you
for her
guys for having
Substack.
me.
Fine
I'm
print.
such big thank you. You guys are the best. I'm so happy we got to do this. And
Thank you for saying
It's
yes.
an honor.
Likewise.
More big
Anytime.
things for
Stay
all three of
curious.
us. We're doing a project this year. I'm sealing this conversation with we're doing a project this year. It's happening.
Here for it.
What did I do? A circle? A heart? That was it for this episode of Good Thinking. Don't forget to tune in next week.
If you found this valuable, subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast app.
And don't forget to read on Substack for even more insights.
And if you really liked it, drop us a heart. We'd love to hear from you.
Ciao. Until next time.